Now looking over to America's Talking, let's look at some quick hits that you can find at thecentersquare.com. First, looking at the state of Nevada. There's a story out of Nevada's, the Regional Rail Transit Advisory Working Group. They met this past week discussing proposals for expanding roads and transit options, but this conversation kept coming back to the idea of cost. How much is this going to cost? Within the state of Nevada, Senator Skip Daly raised some questions about tolls and funding mechanisms and whether a private-public partnership is the best option.
If there's enough money for the private entity to say, I'm going to put up $500 million to build this road, I'm going to make that back plus profit based on the toll. The other part that they then charge the public agency for is operation and maintenance, which is where they kind of make money. But if they can put up that money and then earn it back based off the toll and the other stuff, seems to me we could cut out the middleman. And if we do the right toll, we can sell bonds on that, build it, and then continue with the operation and maintenance at a much lower cost, because that's their profit center. And I'm not against private entities trying to make money on these things. I'm just saying it's not good for the public.
Next, coming out of Pennsylvania, poultry farmers are experiencing an outbreak of the avian flu. Governor Josh Shapiro spoke in Lancaster yesterday with members of the agriculture community, highlighting that there are taxpayer funding from the state that is set aside to aid this situation.
We're the only state in the country with a high-path avian influenza fund, which has about $60 million in it for prevention, protection, and to help farmers recover and get back up on their feet. The legislature has also given me authority to dip into the general fund should that $60 million not be enough. Obviously, we'll communicate with the legislature should that be the case. We feel prepared at the state level. Obviously, this is taking a dramatic and devastating toll on our poultry farmers across Pennsylvania. We're working with them to get them back up on their feet as quickly as possible.
Finally, coming out of the state of Wisconsin, there was an informational meeting held by the Senate Special Committee on Oversight of the Department of Justice, hearing from a number of witnesses, including Evan Umpire. He's the Director of Tax, Transportation, and Legal Affairs for Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. And he raised some concerns within that meeting about how the state DOJ is operating.
I think that when you have zealous and politically funded and motivated individuals, and in this case prosecutors, to go after businesses, that presents a concern that the enforcement is going to be potentially improper, that the investigations are going to go wild and keep digging and digging until a violation is found. And is, like I said, in instances with our members, sometimes no violation is found at all, or a violation is unintentional. And of course, violations are subject to enforcement. But the enforcement actions that we've seen and the practices that we've seen in some instances by DOJ don't necessarily match what the violation that occurred is.
All of these stories and more can be found at thecentersquare.com.